you still have to think it's just going to be a dive mirror, but I think ultimately, maybe again, SSG probably quite happy just to play Winston, Kiri, Lucio. And with Ana off the cards, it means Nightmare might be forced to mirror. Although, just seeing we've got Bap, Brig, maybe just out of both sides. A classic Bap, Brig, ball mirror. A BBB across the board.
Well, it looks just like at least Spacestation on the defense seems to lock in that composition right away. Have Hardy on the ball, which is very decent, but also Infected, obviously a very experienced ball player right there. Baptiste, Brigitte backline makes a lot of sense. In addition to the Psycho, the Tracer. Pretty straightforward, you would think. Let's see if they actually stick to it. Seeker currently on the Zombra. Not too sure if he will keep it. Going over to the Widowmaker.
So yeah, so the nature of Ball into Bat Brig is it's quite hard for a Bat Brig to kill Ball. They can shoot him a bit, but it's also quite hard for the Ball to effectively kill the Bat Brig because they're also quite tanky. So it's all about occupying. Maybe you can boot someone out of position. Just try and apply pressure, keep them in check as we see the Ball sort of exchanging pressure here. Can be quite a tricky one to get going. Might be a little bit more about Sparker or Seeker finding the opening for their respective teams.
Hardy on the high ground there. A lot of tension going his way, of course. He's able to pull a lot of enemies into his side there, but now under pressure, has to make sure to get out of there alive. Then has to pull the lamp for him. Also now Nightmare having to use that same utility on their own. Car's already made quite a process here though for Nightmare. As Spacestation now tries to capitalize on the card. First kill coming in. Seeker dies from Psycho. No chance to get out of that one alive. Spacestation trying to take control.
Need to be careful here that they don't get caught. They will lose Sparker, but the rest of them should be able to stabilize. Zero force to the high ground. Just links out though. Seems to be a reasonable start from Nightmare initially, trying to play through the ball. If you get rid of the ball, you can keep the cart moving. If you keep the cart moving, if you do that enough, eventually you'll win. But SSG seem to have changed tack slightly and are now playing a bit more aggressive with Hattie and Psycho, and now back-to-back picks for the pair.
A lot of ultimates now in the bang. Spacestation got 4 ready to go. Funny Astro only 30% away as well. Seeker the only one who's far behind. 25% on his bank only. Psycho looking for an opportunity for Pulse Bomb here. Maybe doesn't even need it. A lot of damage coming in, but the Pulse Bomb misses in the end and it isn't even able to get the kill itself. What an unlucky situation for the Austrian player.
Looks like it was there for him. We're getting up to a big ult fight. Window to start it. One tap onto land and that'll do it. Now finally a big opening, but Hattie wants to trade actually. Comes in with the dive. They've traded 1, traded 2 thanks to that boot. They actually trade 3. When you trade many more, you've just won the fight actually. But this trade will mean their recontest is a little bit easier here. Did manage to hold on to that rally and that Minds of their own though, Nightmare. So still a pretty decent chance. And ultimately, while Sparker does have the Bob, relatively easy to deal with Bob in this kind of composition.
Bob, definitely an option here for Sparker. Pulls it out now. Let's see how it can help him out here. Sparker gets the kill with the dynamite on Zero though. That definitely is an opening that they can use here. Psycho trying to make trouble on the sidelines. Baptiste uses the lamp but dies in the process as well. No mercy shown from Spacestation right here. As the card is slowly but surely making its way towards that first touch point. However though, Psycho does not get out of this one alive.
The nice trade from Seeker. Psycho will be back quick. You saw before that. Actually quite nice play from SSG where Psycho taps for Bap, takes his attention, but Hattie comes in for the slam as Psycho de-peaks. Ben re-peaks once the Bap's looking at Hattie. Just a little bit of give and go. Catches Z's out in the open, punishes them. And now a rally on point to finish this one for Funny Astro in theory. Maybe a Mines too from Hattie.
Opportunity is definitely there. 15% left for Hardy to get those mines. Those Psycho and early Pulse Bomb could already be a good difference maker here. The lamp is used very early here for Nightmare. This could be a big disadvantage already. Mines now coming in from Hardy as well, denying so much space on the payload. In fact, they're so low already, trying to make it out alive, but they're already so far away from the cut. Who can even touch this in time? Looks like the Tracer got another touch in the last second. However, this is such a difficult situation to be in the window from London, giving even more space to Space Station. Nightmare, they seem desperate. Doesn't look good for them. And it looks like Space Station will indeed be able to complete the full hold on Dorado.
If you're just tuning in, this is actually the third time we're seeing a team attack Dorado. And believe it or not, this is the best one yet by distance. It was 70 meters, then 67 meters. At least we're trending up again, but Dorado will not be capped by any of these teams.
It's mostly that the point 2 and 3 of Dorado are currently under maintenance, and therefore we cannot show them to you yet. So we'll need a couple of more attempts maybe to show you a second point of Dorado, if there even is one. At this point I'm not even sure anymore, as we see the highlight from Hardy here once again booping Admiral into those mines. The Space Station now, obviously very good opportunity for them to close Dorado fairly quickly, make it work, get to match point quickly, as they only have to complete those 71.2 meters.
That's really where we saw a lot of the success as well from SSG, just in that timing like you highlighted from Hadi. It's Hadi will go in for the slam, Psycho has some kind of angle he can engage from, and Spark is going to hit the dynamite timing. And because of Bat, Brick, Ash like to play quite compact, if you hit one with the dynamite, you quite often hit all of them with the dynamite, you force a quick lamp, then all of a sudden a little bit more killable than they once were. And it just felt like SSG's timing and discipline with that was just a step ahead of Nightmare right here. And I mean, a big task, but if there's one thing we've learned today, Julian, is that Dorado first is quite holdable.
It is quite holdable indeed. Psycho on the Symmetra means they'll use the teleport to get up on that new high ground over there. But in fact that he's kind of smelling the opportunity here, looking for a boop right away, gets it. That is not quite enough to boop them off the map completely. The tap was there, the read was there as well. But in the end, the Space Station are able to make their way up on that high ground.
There we go. Just need to be careful here. You don't want to get staggered out too much, so they have to all get out safely, and it seems like Nightmare have just about managed that. We'll be backing up to the choke, but it basically means it's a one-fight situation with just under 3.5 minutes to have a crack at it. No ults just yet. And Hadi's going to look for another one of these engages. Onto the Ash. Forces lamp, forces a bit of everything, but I think Seeker will live.
This is so good for them though, because the way that Hardy's always able to force lamp very, very soon in those fights, it denies such an important utility for Nightmare technically, but Seeker, he just doesn't care. He gets two on his own basically. Together with the Tracer, they are able to take down Funny Astra as well. Hardy will either look for a reset here or will just try to hide somewhere in the never seen before rest of the map. But yeah, I mean, Nightmare now in a good situation, right? They've got a couple of ultimates coming their way. Space Station slightly fell behind on ultimate charge.
Yeah, the rally's a big one to deal with here from Funny Astro, but ultimately this part of Dorado and his second part of first is actually quite long and quite open, so Astro's ability to connect on a target meaningfully might be quite tricky. Window can make his life really hard, and we've seen that window right there, and Astro doesn't even get a chance to press his button.
I mean, the good news is, in this fight, despite Lando getting the kill on Seeker, Space Station did not waste any ultimates here, right? They die fairly early, Psycho gets the kill on the Bastion Baptiste as well. And they're actually able to make quite some process here. Hardy gets the kill on Admiral as well. Somehow, some way, this seems to, for some reason, work out for them. In fact, that now getting pressured as well, therefore Landon able to live, and somehow Space Station, it seems like they're actually able to turn this fight around here.
Same old story that we saw on map 1 is advantage Nightmare, but they can't convert it. They're going to bob back, but it takes a bunch of damage. Bastion boots away, and SSG, they want to push over the line. They're still getting a few desperate touches, but there it goes. They sneak it over, and I mean, if they'd won that fight, Nightmare, it's really not out of the question that they full hold this as well, and even win the map.
The main issue is that I felt like they did win that fight, but they just weren't able to like fully win it. So it looked very done already. And then Psycho just comes in together with Landon, making 2 kills. Hardy's able to somehow follow up on it, and they turn this around. But yes, indeed, this happened to Nightmare on Busan as well. Seems like a learning they might want to get here. Hardy there. We again see the kill on the Tracer. Infected also very low shot by him afterwards. So yeah, Spacestation now are able to go towards match point rather quickly. Once again, Dorado seems to be a map that simply does not go further than the first point for some reason. But yeah, definitely a learning that they can pull from this as well. So, what do you do now as Nightmare, right? You picked Dorado as all the others who lost the first map somehow did, and also, again, didn't work for you. So, probably Dorado not the main go-to for teams that lose the first round, maybe. Where do you go? What do you do? What bans are maybe now the ones that you would pull?
It's hard. It's really hard, because I think if I'm Nightmare right now, the good news is we're getting advantage in all the fights. The bad news is we lose all those fights immediately afterwards. So I don't know if there's necessarily a comp I'm looking at. The matchup didn't seem unreasonable. Yeah, the attack was bad, but the defense was also good, and that's, you know, that's generally how it goes on those sort of matchups, especially on a map like Dorado. So I don't know if you just keep moving it along, as in, like, okay, the dive one didn't work out and that was quite tough. Do we just go to more of a brawly mirror like we had on Mecha Base? Maybe that's the direction they want to go. It's hard because the hero pools on SSG's side is bigger. So I think you just need to find a matchup that you feel comfortable in, and maybe start to worry a little bit less about sabotaging SSG and a little bit more about, hey, what's our best map? Can we pick our best map? Can we maybe put a ban in place that allows not only us to play our best comp, but stops us getting sabotaged or anything, and let's just give it our best shot and just try and clean up that mid and late fight.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it's maybe even more about just relying on your own strength, right, than trying to somehow sabotage, as you said, the enemy. And I feel like Nightmare, especially with the Diva ban that they pull out here, it felt like they were more trying to deny the enemy than to save their own category. And it didn't really work out for them. It basically didn't really work out for anyone so far. And therefore, maybe something that teams might want to lean in a bit more by simply going more into those directions, right? Try to more like save your own comp rather than disable the enemy one, because a lot of those times we have seen a mirror matchup here. So technically both of those teams, they want the same thing. It's more like they're standing in each other's way to actually make the comp work, and therefore, yeah, maybe a different approach could work here.
We'll have to wait and see. There's Infected does give them more flexibility, which is the nice thing, which means there are more chances to have a plan B or a plan C or a plan D or whatever plan number you need to get to before you can take a map. So it is useful in that sense. I don't know how you really get the best out of it, because in theory the sort of niche pick for Infected is that Ball, and while I don't think Infected played particularly poorly on any of the maps we've seen him play on Ball, it's been much more of a team difference more than anything else, which is in many ways a harder problem to solve, and something you can't ban in hero bans. You can't ban the team.
Well, yeah, unfortunately, I guess. But yeah, it seems like those two teams here, especially those two teams, they want to just get it over with, apparently, because they have already selected map 3, and there's no roster swaps. They just want to go all the way through, no time wasted. Riyadh seems to be a very beautiful city. The venue and the area itself is massive. It looks so great, and therefore lots of time to maybe explore the other venues as well, right? Let's head right into it, right? Next map, we go to Midtown. Once again, obviously, the pick from Nightmare as they lost Dorado. And now, when we talk about the hero bans, this is the first time we actually see something that is a technicality that can happen, because we now have a map ban that happened from that is Midtown, and we now have a hero ban that technically already happened, but now it's done by the other team, and therefore it is possible, right? So in this case, Spacestation, they've banned Ramatra, and Nightmare, they've banned the Kiriko. That was previously in map 1 already banned by Spacestation, but since now it's Nightmare's turn to ban it, it is allowed.
Interesting choice. I actually quite like it. So we're going to Midtown, which by design ends up being a pretty tricky map to dive on, which forces you way more to brawl. The version of dive you could play, especially if you're SSG, and this is maybe something that's unique about SSG, because normally when you talk about banning dive, you're talking about banning an Ana or a Winston or something. But SSG always run the Kiri Lucio version. So if you actually, so banning Kiriko against SSG actually takes their dive away, as well as maybe taking away a few other options like a Mauga composition or like an Anakiri or something even. So I think they are just trying to force some sort of maybe a BAP Brig mirror or some kind of double flex support mirror, or even just a BAP Lucio mirror, probably quite reasonably as well. It's interesting that SSG are banning Ramatra as well, which in theory forces either the Mauga to come out from Infected, as we saw a little bit earlier, or a Sigma. Maybe two heroes that Hadi feels fairly confident in the matchup versus. So we'll have to wait and see, as handshakes all round. Don't celebrate too soon, SSG. One more map to go, at least.
I mean, they seem to be feeling pretty confident. And honestly, why wouldn't they, right? The performance on Dorado was very good. The performance on Busan was maybe even better. They know the situation they are in, and they also know that they are meant to be the team favored in this matchup. And therefore, why not use that confidence, right? Try to build up on it, make sure you keep the positive vibes up, and make sure to finish the job. Maybe already here on Midtown now, as this is the map that we are now going in.
Ready for battle.
We missed the start of this exchange, but it seems like Seeker's been flaming his teammates. So, not too happy about that. And it does feel like, alright. So they've gone, okay, so here's the thinking I think from Nightmare then, is they've gone Ana Ilari, a double flex support dive composition, pokey DPS. We've seen Farrah on this defense before, very tricky. But what they've done by taking Kiriko away is take away that dive option. But instead of using the removal of that dive option from SSG to take a brawl, to force a brawl mirror, they've used it to play dive of their own, expecting that SSG won't be able to mirror, and it feels like SSG probably won't mirror and might just force something else. Maybe a Rhine TP strat. We'll see what they do once SSG hit a little peep here at the comp they're facing.
Oh, and I love this so much. Spacestation, the hardy Reinhardt, we rarely see it, but this time it could be the game changer.
Go in alleyway.
German tank prodigy. At his signature hero, maybe this is the element that they were looking for. The full rotation actually, up to the firehouse. They are taking this the long way.
Lamp forced on the way in there as well, so this will actually slow him down a little bit as you see Infected get on the high ground already. Already 50% to Primal as well, but it's Landon's just behind on that window too, so SSG are going to slow this right down. Probably just play from this window timing. Go for a swing, maybe window out main, peek the other side with your Mei or something. There we go, just taking a bit more damage, and this window timing is awfully close for Landon. No bubble, but Hadi is low. All about this window timing from Landon now.
This will be so crucial for them. In fact, they can just farm damage from that small high ground. Hardly no chance to get away from that. However, though, 50% of the point already capped. It seems to somehow work for Spacestation here, but they have to be super careful. One wrong step could ruin this attempt completely.
Look at the ults from Nightmare as well. Everything's about to come out. They just try and beat aggressively. They want kills, and they want kills quickly, but this backline is going to be marked by this Primal. Infected won't leave him alone, but Hadi's already traded one. Infected needs kills, but Landon is stuck in the corner, stuck with that lamp. They're going to clear Infected, but backline survive from SSG. Their aggression pays off. Now they're in control of point. Now they're forcing it. Here comes the Captain's Son from Admiral, though. Anything he's trying to chase for people behind with it. Can they convert the kill? They're going to bob to try and hold on to point as well, but here's a mail from Psycho, and oh, the recontest is good. It comes true, and Hadi's stranded behind enemy lines here, as is Landon.
It seems just like, yeah, but he can still like put a little pressure on the point here. Somehow gets Seeker out of that equation. That was not supposed to happen. Therefore, fully turned around. The Shatter's ready as well. They can easily take a second tick here for sure. Maybe even more. In fact, it jumps in just in time, but the Shatter is only dedicated to him. He gets the pin. He gets the charge towards the Adder. And oh, Seeker, this was not meant to happen.
It feels a little bit more of the same. That one's maybe a bit more forgivable from Nightmare, but it felt like they'd done the recontest. They got those 3 kills. They managed to deal with some of the threats behind. I mean, it's just a BAP, and it's just a low HP Ryan and a BAP T stuck behind. They mess up the clearing up of it. It gives SSG that window, and to be fair, they deal with the The Nano Barrage re-engage very swiftly. And now they're trying to hold this high ground, and they have Bob if Infected gets too aggressive here. There it is.
There it is indeed, and it gets the work done right away. Infected falls under the Bob here. Big advantage for Spacestation as they are trying to capitalize from it. They take out the Pharah as well. This is so much card process that they are able to gain here. This push is so deep into the lines of Nightmare. However, Sparker falls in the process. But look at how much process that card has already made. It's now going under that choke point. Any meter now is crucial, of course. But they seem to, at least for now, be slightly stuck right where they wanted to go through.
It's actually a lifesaver from that Z's, because the hardest fights for Nightmare are the ones where they have no ults. Their comp is really so at its best when it has ultimates to cycle onto these brawl type compositions. So Z's pick buys that time, so now they still need a few more percent. The pin's gonna land, but no Primal. Admiral does get the Captive Sun though, and that can maybe be the turning force for Nightmare here, but I think they're just trying to slow it down for now.
Meter by meter going onto the bank, and that is a good idea for the Shatter, but the anti-nade is even stronger. The charge is not really enough, and this is a big Larry ultimate we see from Atma right here. There is so much work that he's done there. This is an absolutely amazing play that we see from him. What a Captive Sun, holy moly.
Actually perfect. We questioned at the start of the series how Admiral's flexibility would look, how he'd be able to handle situations where either Lucio is banned or he's forced to play a different comp, but he handles it very well there. And now he's going to swap over to Brigitte after that big play, because Hattie has gone Diva, so they can mirror that now. Pulse Bomb lands onto Z's votes, and this opens the door for SSG to get a little bit aggressive, but a Primal and a Bob coming up soon from Nightmare means they should be able to buy enough time for Z's to come back. And here goes Infected, taking his American comrade for a ride, but doesn't get very far before forced out. Trades back and forth now. Admiral's going to have to try and take over the touch. Infected back too. Seeker dies just before Bob. They need to help Infected here. Admiral needs to take over touching duties here to contest. They do demech. Zera has a pulse bomb if they get into trouble. But now, there we go. Bob is back from Spark. They're trying to double down and win it. Spark's killed two. They're forcing point. 62 centimeters in it. A counter Bob from Seeker. But how long can Nightmare hold on?
Landon gets the kill on Seeker. Gets another one as well. See who the Tracer, what can he make happen here? Sparker is taken out first. Still slight advantage for Spacestation, but the way back from spawn is so long at this point. You do want to finish this now, otherwise you might not get an opportunity to do so. Infected, the Winston, it falls. This could be the opportunity for Spacestation now, but they need to make it work quickly. There's so much time already lost in this fight. The cycle end, and now it seems like they are able to get the job done. Spacestation takes point to 1 minute 45 back on the clock.
Oh wow, we saw Infected make that aggressive move. It was a 3v3 situation. Normally in these chaotic 3v3 situations, the winner is the person who makes the positive move first and has that initiative. But this time Infected actually ends up costing his team for it, and it doesn't work out. They're able to get the peel, and then they just overwhelm Admiral before he gets rally on point, and it just falls apart. So now we go over to this third point. Only a minute and something left though, because they did get a lot of time off their Nightmare. Pulse Bomb, ooh, Nano to save him, but Infected jumped out on that Nano timing, so this is going to be the easiest disengage of SSG's season.
Who has to respect that very, very speedy move from Spacestation here. Yana, now the weapon of choice here for Z's. Spacestation now approaching that final corner. This is where it gets crucial. The window would be available, but the Winston dive and the Primal Rage is making trouble in the back line.
Oh.
Z's finds the pick on Psycho with the anti-nade. In fact, it takes down Sparker. Good push, good reaction as well from Nightmare here. As in fact, it just takes them down one by one. A last push for Spacestation to make it work on Midtown.
Unbelievable lamp actually from Landon. It wasn't enough to change the outcome of the fight, but perfectly timed. But now Bob and Pulse Bomb to work their way past here for SSG if they want to get any more meters in. And they're trying to clear Infected early, but it's an aggressive nade, and Bob playing the backline is in big trouble. Astro is one. The lamp saves him for now. And They have to go back, actually. I don't know if they didn't get anything out of this aggressive play, and Psycho's got the touch. Nightmare now caught in the middle of two parts of SSG, and this fight will just go on. Infected's low. Oh, they tried to surprise him with aggression, but it doesn't work out. Now they're coming forward. The bomb trade on point. Seeker will fall, and it's overtime spawns for Nightmare. The recontest is so awkward from here. They're going to spawn so late.
I mean, the way from the spawn is fairly short, but indeed, yes, it will take them a couple of seconds to get out of there. They won't all be there in time. The touchdown effect comes through either way. However, now this is going to be crucial. We see Seeker on the bench as well, just to get some more utility from this overtime. Almost ticked down there. Be careful now. Spacestation has to be very, very considerate with the steps from here on out. Ultimate's coming up. Psycho, he has support from ready. This could be the difference maker here, who throws his one in the middle of nowhere. Infected and Seeker, they do get the picks though. This could just fall into the face of Nightmare. Psycho gets a pick on Diana, but Infected, he's there. He's taking out Hardy. This is the main factor, maybe. Funny Astro takes the Tracer down, but where is the backup? Who's coming next to touch this payload? Overtime is so crucial, so much ticking down now. Infected, he finds Funny Astro. Only Psycho, but he's gone. Overtime ticks down. Nightmare, they're able to deny 3 points from Spacestation.
It ends in a 2v2 where Astro and Psycho are the two remaining players who get beat. But the problem is their 2v2 is against a ventured Diva. So between Defense Matrix and Burrow, it's actually just really hard to kill either of these characters. They were that window on high ground to shut down that Nano Barrage. Landon actually, it's an insane play from Landon to shut that down, because otherwise Nightmare might have even been full holding them, honestly.
And I mean, this is something for Nightmare, right? Now it's in their own hands. They can make this work in one approach, technically.
Yeah, I think there was a bit where where SSG nearly got held right at the start of third, and there was that time where they went for the aggressive Bob. They had Z's hide in the corner, Bob round the corner, Nade round the corner. Astro goes down to 1 but gets lamped, and it felt like that was their timing to win. And then the fact that they conceded maybe another 80 or whatever it was, 60 meters after losing that all the way to the end of third probably hurts them. But I don't think it's the end of the world at all for Nightmare. It felt like a few more of their plays came in. I think we saw nice plays from Infected, nice primals, nice ults. And that's what you want if you're playing against the type of composition SSG have in this sort of like anti-dive rules style, is you need your ults to get value. We saw a bit of that from Nightmare, and they'll certainly need it on the attack here as well.
Nightmare now, they can make it happen, but they need to be efficient here on Midtown. Almost 3 full points required from them. Admiral, early switch from him over to the Brigitte. Only the tank is different now, other than that is a full mirror, of course. Hardy on the Diva.
A hero we've seen quite a bit from Hadi in this series that maybe people wouldn't associate with him before, but he's done a pretty reasonable job so far. But they're getting bullied out. That nade is good from Z's. Oh, lamp just in time for Astro, but this gives Nightmare all of the map, and look at all the space Seeker can take. Difficult retake now for SSG, pushing into Seeker's sightline.
They find the first pick though. Spacestation down Psycho. In fact, that he just keeps pushing this more and more. They are creating so much space right now. Hardy on the Diva, trying to stop those percentages from coming the way of Nightmare. First tick in the books already. Spacestation now up to 5 people again. Just barely touching before second point.
Infected's going to bubble up the choke, but gets forced out pretty quickly. Z's has this nano. We'll be looking to get it on Infected's next bubble timing, but SSG have just bullied them out here, and they ended up where they started here, Nightmare. They have to do everything again, but maybe they just go with nano. Oh, the boop is good. Nowhere. Infected is left short. Won't find anything. Oh no, the nade's perfect! The nade's perfect. It connects with the backline. It looked like it was all over, but Z's once again, a huge nade, saves their team, and they will cap this first point.
Hardy tried to do a one-man show there, didn't quite work out for him. Nightmare takes the cap, 4 minutes 30 seconds on the clock for them. But now it's about making that whole way through the streets of New York. Midtown, very long map indeed. And that's high ground. With Sparkle on it, it's so hard to contest. They need a lucky first pick here, maybe.
Yeah, they might try and go with Bob or a Primal. Oh, but it's actually Spark who starts it all. Very aggressive. Stuff them back at the choke. Seeker won't make it out alive. Neither will Admiral. And they'll be forced all the way back. I think if you're Nightmare here, you don't hate this. It's a bit annoying to get stuffed at the choke. But it's a quick reset. And the key for Nightmare here in this matchup is that their ults get value. If their ults get value, they will eventually cap the map. They just need to nail these engages. And this one coming right up. Nano, Primal, Bob, everything. They need to get value, which is exactly why SSG go to spawn. Try and force these ults out in the enemy spawn rather than on the cap.
Absolutely. Any meter that they are closer to the attacker spawn is a meter they save and have time to come back as soon as they lose a fight here. Pulse bombs get traded in the process. Psycho dies under the one from Zehu. Attacker trying to push aggressive with the Primal. However, though, as you mentioned, no process at all here. Hardy dies in spawn, but in the enemy one. Therefore, so much time to come back now. And a lot of meters Nightmare have to do till they just reach the card and then push the card.
Now the window on top as well. Nano in response to Infected needs to find value. Will go back. Rally in response from Astro. Spark has given up the high ground though, so they do still have to take a back step here, SSG, but they've weathered the storm for now. Admiral has Rally to push with. Will be popping it now. Bash just onto Hadi. Looking for more. The nade is connected again. Z's finds the opening. And Nightmare are going to clean up. They had to use all the ults, but it was a decent exchange. They get the value. And they're even going to stagger out this Baby Diva a little bit here. Hadi's going to have to go die on point.
And the timing's looking good, honestly. Looking very good for Nightmare. Stuck once here, it will be super hard to get it back.
We've seen it in many series before where actually teams can get to this part of Midtown and regardless of how much time bank they have, it just ends up not being enough. The saving grace is Nightmare have good ults to break difficult holds and they've been having success so far. So you got to look at Z's, you got to look at this Nano, and of course, if you're SSG, you got to worry about this nade. Do not let this nade go through because it's won Nightmare so many fights. And we see Z's making their way to the high ground now, looking for another opportunity.
And you have to keep in mind, right, it's do or die for Nightmare here. They have to win this map to stay alive in the series, so definitely a lot of pressure on their shoulders here. But until now, they have dealt quite well with it. Sparky, he's got the bot ready, he throws it out right away. And seems to have landed at a pretty unfortunate angle somehow. Just barely behind that corner, not really covering too much off that entry hole. But definitely makes Nightmare having to respect it.
It was weird because they survived Nano pretty well. SSG, their kite was good. Then they tried to chase with Bob, but the chase... Nightmare had left. There was no need to Bob. So it ends up being a bit of a wasted ult here. They still have the window and the beat defensively. But next push comes in. They're being forced back. Landon not quite having to lamp. Has to lamp now, though. And they didn't use anything for that. Infected nearly has Primal. Zero will get pocketed through. Window in exchange. And there goes Admiral. No chance to use Rally. Would Infected commit? Probably not now. Yeah, they just try and backstep again. Have to be careful not to over chase here, SSG, and they are. But now Infected wants to come. No lamp for 5 seconds. Pressure onto Landon. Here it comes. Beat is good, though, and they will just about survive. And even if you get naded, the beat health will be enough to survive. But Zero will not leave Landon alone. Hunts him down, and they are still pushing. Admiral has Rally to finish this one as well.
And now going into crunch time. The Widowmaker pulled out here by Spark as well, but he's low already. Trying to take a peek and trying to find a pick, but Hardy, he's dying on point already. No chance to remac, no chance to delay this anymore. And it looks like the old roster of Cloud9 that is now Spacestation is still keeping up some traditions.
C9. I don't know how winnable it was, really. It was actually, again, well played by Z's. Pulse Bomb goes on to Seeker. Nano just in time to save him, keeps him up, keeps him in a pretty good position. You have to imagine maybe Seeker's next Dynamite timing, Nanoed on point. Pretty reasonable chance to clean that one up from there. But comes out on top, and ultimately, it now feels like Nightmare have found the matchup where they have advantage. We've talked a lot about what comp do they, in theory, have advantage over. And in any mirror, probably none, right? But in these matchups, they seem to have a clearer idea.
Definitely, as we take a look at the highlights from Midtown, there definitely were plenty here. Sparker with that Bob early answer, trying to hold Nightmare back as much as possible. But in the end, Nightmare, as the first team of tonight's broadcast, are actually able to force a fourth map here. And it's against Spacestation, which is very surprising considering they are meant to be the best in the West. But now, Nightmare has become a true challenger for them. However, not to underestimate it. Now, obviously, it's the time for Spacestation to pick the maps, pick the mode, and also pick a first ban. Therefore, quite the opportunity now to finish it off in a fourth map. Nightmare on Midtown, they are able to make it work. They leave their mark in this matchup for sure.
It's of course we don't want to take away from Nightmare as well. It's like a really important, really impressive win for them. I think they played the matchup very well. I think all the things that needed to go right for them are actually quite hard. You know, you need to get value out of your ults. You need your primals to work. You need your nanos to work. You need your engagers to work. And these are quite difficult things to do against good opposition on the big stage, all of these things. So I think they should be very happy with it. But the situation that now ultimately faces them is SSG have control for the final two maps of this series. And they need to overcome that deficit somehow, some way.
Definitely quite the challenge up ahead for Nightmare here. We want to give the players a couple of more minutes to take a rest after those three maps that they've already played in this matchup. Since it's fairly important for Nightmare for sure, this is one of only 3 matchups a team has to play in the group stage. So every map, every match is important. We'll throw into a very brief break and we'll be right back for map number 4. A never seen before situation has occurred on the B stream of the Esports World Cup. We're going into a map number 4, which is definitely a first for today. Spacestation. They weren't able to finish job on Midtown, which honestly, given the performance on the 2 previous maps, is fairly surprising. But now, Nightmare are facing a totally different challenge. Now, it's Spacestation. They can now take control over map, bans, and so many more things. Definitely another layer that makes that challenge for Nightmare even more complicated.
One thing that's worth mentioning, since we are now in uncharted territory, is it was the same system at the Dallas Major, but you have a system where the loser picks the map and the mode. So the nature of this, we've talked about its strength, but the later we get through the series, it actually delays, or I should say mitigates some of that damage, because all of a sudden the variety of maps you get to choose from isn't as much. I think it's fair to say that Escort and Hybrid have all the maps that fall into the strongest extremities in terms of dive favored or anti-dive favored or anything like that. So it's going to be a really big question of exactly how much value can SSG get out of these 2 remaining map picks, which are Push and Flashpoint. Realistically, quite broadly favoured maps, which maybe isn't a bad thing for SSG, but definitely more limited choice.
Yeah, absolutely. And since we apparently seem to be having a couple of more minutes to do the pre-talk to this map, as there's a last-minute roster swap coming in for one of the 2 teams, I want to go more into detail for this whole hero bans thing. It's probably one of the hottest topics in the Overwatch scene, and not since yesterday. It's been around for quite some time. There were times in the Overwatch League where you had certain heroes disabled for a stage, for a week, for something, same in Contenders. However, it never really proved to be a system to last for longer. Now, this approach that we have at the Esports World Cup right here, it is a different one. As somebody who's been in the coaching role in situations like these before, let me know, what are your thoughts on this? How does this affect the roster? Is it a system that you could imagine to last as a big part of the system?
I think it's hard, because we can take a look at that map pick that does come in, which is Surabasa for SSG, which is a map that's always been strong for them. But I think with hero bans, the point of hero bans, while it does add an impact coaches can have in terms of which direction they take the series or how they try and mind game their opponents, what it actually does from a coaching perspective is it sabotages all your practice, because it means all of a sudden it's harder to prepare for specifics, because you might practice against Team A. Let's say if you're SSG, you're having a scrim against Zeta Division, but you're actually preparing for your match against Nightmare. So Zeta Division are going to be doing their own bans and their own things and have their own comps they're good at, which are probably different from the team you happen to be playing in your match. So all of a sudden, your ability to practice need specifics or prepare specific things out the window. So all of a sudden, you're having to practice Overwatch in a way more general sense. So I think from a coaching perspective, it makes your life really hard. It makes it way more difficult compared to, say, the Overwatch League system, where you might just say, hey, the maps are predetermined. You're playing these 5 maps on Saturday. You will be playing against this team. And you can go, great. It's a load of structure I can work with. Here's how we play map 1. Here's how we play map 2. Here's how we play map 3. And you're in a really good situation. But in this new system, it's all about broader concepts. So I think from a coaching perspective, certainly a lot harder, as we can take a look at our players getting ready on stage right here.
Yeah, and I mean, let's take a look at the hero bans right away as well, as those obviously are the main thing right now, right? So, on this specific map, the Morga ban, in my opinion, seems quite strong. Spacestation banning the Baptiste, but the Morga is definitely the one I want to talk about. It seems like this could be an interesting opportunity to maybe go out of the comfort zone here.
I think Nightmare have read them, actually. Interesting that they ban the Baptiste here. So SSG chose to ban first, and they chose to ban SSG, as we do get a rare Backbone sighting coming in here as well. But I think Nightmare have actually, we talked about maybe some of the issues they had on like Dorado with their bans, but actually this one, it feels like they've banned Baptiste here, SSG, which means they're just going to play Kiri. So I think SSG's intention was to play Mauga Kiri. But obviously, I think Nightmare have read that and therefore taken the Mauga out of the equation, which all of a sudden puts SSG in this situation where they can't play Malgakiri, so maybe they have to play a Ram or a Sigma or other type Brawl, but then that can be quite tricky without a Baptiste. Because even though the Kiri can function in those type of comps, it's a lot harder to keep everyone up. But Bap's area of effect healing is so valuable in those comps. Malga gets away with it because he has so much self-sustain, but he's been banned. So SSG, my anticipation is whatever we're going to see from SSG is probably quite improvised. This isn't going to be something they've prepared or played a lot. And this is maybe trying to solve a problem they didn't expect to run into.
Let's actually dig deeper into this. If you cannot play the Marga on this specific map, what else do you play? And how dirty is that keyboard? Holy moly!
Well, you could still just do like a Winston Kiri type thing. That would be on the cards. It's quite like, especially the first fight on this first point, it's so hard to play Lucio Kiri Winston just because the sidelines are so long. So maybe you go to a more brawly type matchup. So you do just play, I don't know what you'd play instead of a Baptiste. Surely you wouldn't play Moira. I mean, I guess you could play that Falcons version of the comp where you play like the Ram, Lucio, Moira, and then like a Mei Reaper, or maybe on this like a Mei Ashe or something. It doesn't feel a great map for it just because Saravas is quite big and wide. So a lot of difficult options. It's worth stating as well, because SSG have subbed in Psycho and Backbone can fill in on these hit scan rolls, but obviously it means it's not their primary plan, right? If it was that, Sparker would say in to play hit scan, but with Backbone in, they're either going to do some kind of sim stuff, or they're going to choose some kind of double flex stuff, whether that's like Venture, Genji, Echo, Tracer, some combination of those type of heroes. But then I don't know what they do it with. Do they do it with Winston? Do they do it with Junker Queen? I guess is the other possibility. A little bit awkward without... Well, actually, yeah, maybe Junker Queen. Maybe I've talked myself into it. I've thought out loud long enough, Julian.
Yourself to play Junker
I've
Queen.
convinced myself that maybe we're going to see a Junker Queen come out here, actually, and it's going to be Junker Queen double flex DPS coming out from SSG. That's Psycho. Takes a little relax.
Yeah, it seems like it might take a little longer. Psycho's leaning back there fairly comfortably. The only Austrian player to ever make it into Overwatch League, Vancouver Titans, then of course Spitfire. I've actually been on Falcons Esports together with Psycho when they were still in Contenders Europe. It's super funny. I've been able to talk to him in Dallas a little bit as well. Very humble young player, massive potential, probably one of the best tracers that Europe has seen in the past few years, and definitely one of the core pieces of that Spacestation roster and the success that came with it.
I think what's interesting to note as well is part of the reason we're taking a little bit longer to start on this map is because it was a sort of emergency substitution, I guess, or like quite a late in the day substitution choice, which was Backbone coming in, which means SSG have maybe changed their plans a little bit last minute, which again maybe lends itself to the theory that this was quite an improvised fix they're attempting to do. So really interested to see what they choose to do. And I guess more importantly, because it does feel like Nightmare have maybe outsmarted them or outwitted them a little bit in the bans, in theory, Nightmare now have a good plan for what they're going to play, right? So what's their choice? Are they going to be playing a Ramatra Brawl into this? Are they just going to be playing, maybe even a Junker Queen of their own right? Their direction will be really interesting, because I think in theory they've at least puzzled SSG, if nothing else.
Absolutely, and I mean, this is obviously where this hero ban system also gives you an opportunity to adjust, right? It gives you the chance to, even though the hero bans are done, you can now, if you have a roster of more than 5 players, obviously sub somebody else and who maybe fits the adjusted comp a little better. And that is probably what Spacestation did here after they realized that maybe indeed Nightmare just read their plans and they have to come up with something new. So this late substitution might actually come in their favor twice now, not only because they can bring Backbone in, but also because it gives them a little more time to actually figure out what they maybe want to do here. It
has been a long delay, and it's one of those things that whenever something like this happens, there's always a question of which team does it hurt and which team benefits. SSG had to change their plans seemingly quite a last minute, so the extra time is probably quite helpful for them. Whereas if you are Nightmare on the other side, you come off your first map win in the tournament, an upset map that maybe SSG didn't expect to drop, and all of a sudden, maybe a little bit of that momentum is gone with the break into the late substitutions, into all of this, and they've been sitting there for a little bit of a while. Can they get right back into the groove as we get our first look, or at least a bit of a teaser, what direction they might be going comp-wise?
Definitely new territory and difficult one for Spacestation for sure. I agree with you. It looks like they really got a bit red here by Nightmare. So let's see if Nightmare can actually benefit from that. That's a cute dog.
Seems it's going to be a stick to the Winston, which is of course what was working for Nightmare, so it doesn't seem that unreasonable at all. Ash and Farah of the DPS, very effective on this first point, and it's actually going to be a D.Va all-in dive. May is for choice from Backbone, so I think that means he probably doesn't expect to run into a Winston, but running to a Winston he will, but they get this Winston out of there straight away.
A lot of damage coming towards Infected already, as they are now obviously exchanging the first round of bullets. Flashpoint is now ready to be capped. Space Station with the positioning advantage are able to cap it first. Now it's Nightmare having to come up clutch here, but Psycho gets the first pick against Zero. The Echo now obviously great counter against the Pharaoh, something that was a couple of times denied during today's broadcast already. But Psycho can really step up the game here with that Echo now.
They're awfully low underneath here, but no final blows until just now, and that should be the snowball that starts the avalanche as they'll clean up the rest of these, and ends up being a good first fight. Dive can be tricky on Suravasa here, and SSG playing a little bit of a slower control style. We see Zera swap off that Farah straight away. Now we'll be able to tandem up with Infected a little bit more directly. But it's going to be Copy and Kitsune Rush for first ults available.
Admiral with a late swap here. Brigitte only 15% ult charge now, of course. Will be costly for the ultimate economy, but maybe worth in the end. Landon has the Kitsune Rush ready. Funny Astro close to the beat as well. And this already is almost the first point gone here. In fact, it has to contest it, but he's getting so much pressure on him. Hardy gets a pick on Seeker already. Kitsune Rush here, maybe even already to seal the deal for Space Station. Catch the first point here. You look at this, the rest of Nightmare doesn't even want to enter the point. The wall is denying so much vision onto it. Difficult situation for Nightmare, but they have to copy force at least something here. Psycho takes the Admiral in the process though. In fact, on the Winston, doing a lot of work for his team here. Misses the pulse bomb on the Winston, but gets these instead. Quite a trade that they are happy to take here. They are able to cap it back. Overtime ticks down, and that is 1 down, 2 to go.
Honestly, fair play to Infected, because he kept that point contested for so long. I know he had the Nano and the Primal, but he tanked through a Kitsune Rush, he tanked through the beat as well, he kept it going. But Hadi and Psycho still able to find the value. Essentially, that copy was the winning moment for Psycho. Obviously, very happy to copy Tracer. And now we're going to see Infected move on to the D.Va. So two players we wouldn't typically associate playing D.Va, taking a D.Va mirror here.
Let's see what can in fact actually make happen here.
Flashpoint unlocked.
Backbone, he's got the ultimate ready. He's looking for good timing for Blizzard.
The May is very good into the D.Va here, and it should in theory be a buff to the amount of value Backbone can get here, as SSG will start this one kicking off by point. Hadi's going to make his way onto the high ground, gets behind Seeker, doesn't catch the coach gun, so Seeker will be fine to live and bob for point. SSG will use this opportunity to chill and reset. Keeping it contested though, and Backbone just looking for this opportunity, but it's Landon with the dink to open this one up. Now their attention will turn to the D.Va, and Nightmare will just be bullied back off this. They have to Suzu in main, but look at all the space they've conceded. They've lost their mech. And it will be first flip and first fight of this second point over to SSG.
And you can instantly see the change of pace those D.Vas are bringing to the gameplay, right? We had the Mauga and other comps. We always had that opportunity to maybe grab 2 or 3 quick picks into a fight, but the D.Va makes you play so considered. You have to be super careful. Any wrong step might be your last one here, and therefore those fights are now way slower, way less kills happening. If a kill happens pre-fight, it's more a reset than a go in a 4v5. Nightmare has to be very careful as we now see a couple of ultimates coming in. The Kiriko thrown in from Nightmare, but Zeus dies right away. Funny Astro gets the pick. In fact, also very, very low here. Seems to make it out alive though.
C9 in it as well from all of this. So they steal the point, they'll have to go back and get it. So they do win the fight, and it only costs them a beat in exchange for Kitsune. So it sort of works out for SSG. I don't know if there's another touch in here in reality. Nightmare want to move quickly. They have the beat for it. Seekers even come back on Soldier to get there quicker, but Haddie's trying to find a timing to go, but they're actually going to push into Haddie and force him out here.
They're trying to make something happen against Psycho, but there's so many ultimates available here. 7 to make them all. There's the beat coming out. There's the Diva ultimate coming out, but no value yet. Hardy able to actually to find the first pick here against the mini Diva. So crucial. Could actually win the fight right here, right now. Psycho together with Hardy, they just make it work. Funny Astro backboard. Everyone gets to be at the scoreboard, and this is a second one in favor of Space Station. This means this could very much be the last one.
Have to win all the points from here if you're Nightmare, and they are going to be swapping over to Ramatra. So again, a little bit of tank rock, paper, scissors for Ramatra. In theory, should be able to bully the Diva quite a lot. Happy to play versus the May as well, at least more happy than most tanks are. Just advisor to kick it off with though, so not the highest value ult. I imagine Seeker might just use this one to try and force a little bit of points.
There it's coming. Visor out now for Seeker, but the wall's denying so much. No value at all for Seeker on the Soldier. Admiral gets Psycho though. This could be an interesting opening here. Self-healing activate as well. Hardy, the Diva down, but the remake possible for sure.
Turn back with this slow and aggression onto Backbone, and now you see the problem with May sometimes into that ram. You drop the slow on the May, you can force an ice block, and you can maybe punish her afterwards, and it's exactly what we see there. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see Haddie maybe even potentially mirroring after this too. They will be chasing Haddie down as well. They really do want this mech. If they get the mech here, they can stagger the baby Diva forever. And this is going to be this is actually going to be such a pain for SSG. Haddie has to go either back to spawn or has to jump in the map. But they've C9'd. Psycho stolen the point from them. So shenanigans on both sides of things as Haddie's going to take a long walk off a short ledge.
Psycho at least able to get 8% out of Nightmare here for free, basically. And he's indeed swapping over to the Ram now. Hardy trying to mirror infected Ramatra, but obviously this now makes him lose a lot of ult shots that he had previously built up. Backbone, Funny Astro and Lennon, they do have the ultimates though, but on the other side, Zero, Admiral and Zeus do as well. I think, Commander, we're up for firework here.
Yeah, in theory, it should be the Annihilation to finish from Infected as long as they can circumvent this Mayo. I think Backbone needs to hold these to a little bit later, but he actually starts with it. They try and trade it for Kitsune Rush, and they might even get a freeze out of it. It comes through, trying to save Infected, desperately has to pop the Annihilation straight away. All the ults invested, but it means a much later beat for Astro there. And I thought the May could maybe be the finisher, but Backbone got such good value with it. It set him up, but it's still only 4v4 as his Visor comes in. They're hunting down below targets. Astro will get one. Might be able to just clean everything up here. And it's the SSG backline doing the work. And they get the flip. But a long way back, but look at the ult bank on Nightmare.
Yeah, a super expensive fight on both sides. So Backbone, Funny Astro Land also invested theirs on the side of Space Station. However, Psycho, he does have the full spawn ready here. See who he has swapped to the Pharah now. Tracer doesn't seem to be the pick of choice anymore. There's not really too much to work with.
It's been a hero he's excelled on for Nightmare in their qualification to this event, but it's a hero that's been nerfed. But they actually catch Funny Astro going for a play. So he's opened the door here, and now Zero's with this free flank. Backbone and Landon are trying to respond, but not straightforward shots to hit, and Zero continues to put up the pressure. They bullied SSG back here, and now the Annihilation to turn it. Nightmare just needs to disengage, and I think the disengage might be okay. Astro's actually back. He's trying to find a boop in, but look at this Pharah damage just laying down into Haddie's face, and they are getting bullied all the way back here.
There's nobody really to contest with her at the moment. That's why it's bringing so much value. But Zero has to be super careful. 15 HP only on his bank there. And Nightmare's already down, one overtime now triggered. This could be it for Spacestation already. Boost pulled. On the other side, we do see the Kasuni Rush coming out from London. They are looking to finish this right here, right now. Overtime is already triggered and ticking down. Who will get the first pick? This could be the crucial one.
Barrage and Annihilation up soon if they can keep him up. Zero will die, but Infected will live. Annihilation now on point, and it might just be enough. It's only 3 left alive for SSG. They can't really retake into this from Archer. They disengage the ult. They have to go for kills. They TP in aggressively, but they deal with them there. And literally fractions of a percent in it there for Infected to get that ult in time, and it seals it and gives Nightmare a lifeline, at least for now.
Yeah, and it seems like Funny Astro kind of missed that call of let's not commit to that anymore, as he just died on point. But now, obviously, Spacestation, they have time to work with, right? They're up to 1 still on this map, and therefore have at least 2, or at least 1, but maybe 2 points to work with. They could just seal the deal on this one here now, maybe. Backbone still has the Blizzard ready. See here on the other side, the barrage is still very uncontested. As now, for example, Psycho's also down. Seeker takes him out in the duel. Nightmare trying to build up some momentum here.
Opening pick and pushing them back. Have to be careful going into Mayo. Backbone will try and turn with it, but Barrage will fix it though. Also saves Infected's life as a nice little bonus. They win that ult trade and a good start to point E for Nightmare.
Already building up percentages on their side now. Hardy, Annihilation ready. Infected still quite far away from it actually. Landon Kasuni Rush also online again. But Seeker, that pulse, but it could change so much in an opening fight here. But he finds the kills together with Z, who's getting both of the Space Station players on his own. Seeker puts 2 more on top. And it's a clean wipe for Nightmare as Hardy gets taken down as the last one. Nightmare now, they do have that momentum, right? This could easily fall into a very dangerous snowball here now for Nightmare. Space Station, they're making adjustments. Backbone onto the Symmetra.
Massive ult fight as well. Support ults and Annihilation available for both teams. TP now to get through that rotation they died on previously. So this time they do get to point, and they start with a beat here from Nightmare. Response from both support ults. Seeker gets dealt with in the back. Now the Annihilations come out, but they have player advantage. SSG, can they push it forward? And the answer is yes. 2 for Astro. All over Infected as well. He's super low. And they get the retake. It cost them everything, but they win the big ult trade. Now they just need to win the rest of the fights on this point as well.
And the bonus for this also is that they were able to force a full 4 ultimates from Nightmare as well. So despite investing quite a lot into this, of course, but they had to, they also were able to force so many ultimates from the bank of Nightmare on the other side. Therefore, only the barrage, you have to just be a little bit more careful with it maybe. Psycho close to his ultimate as well. The copy could be available very soon, but here you can see he's already looking for it. He gets it, gets one. Not more than 1 though. This is okay for Space Station. Maybe if they can make it work now. Infected and Admiral are very, very low already. Funny Astro gets the trade. Backbone down in the process though. The BAV Diva is dead as well. Funny Astro makes it work on the Lucio. And this copy from Psycho might just have saved the day.
It was an interesting swap, because normally you wouldn't swap Diva into Ramatra because it's quite a tricky matchup, but obviously Infected knew he could full Matrix that barrage. They thought that was their win condition, they thought that was their opening, but now Infected has to go ball because they're desperate for a touch, and they're going to make this so tricky for him as we see Zera try and work his way in. So does Infected. Well, it's actually Seeker, sorry, but he does get the touch, and it's not quite over yet.
The main issue is it's going to be quite the dry fight. Backbone might have to wall up. But on that, there's not really too much available for anyone right here, so it's going to come down to raw mechanics. Backbone seems to be quite good at it. Seeker dies first. The wall is up now as well. Overtime ticking down slowly but surely. In fact, it gets another touch, but what more can he even get from that? Gets bloody blocked as well. Psycho takes an Admiral in the process. Overtime triggered and ticking down more and more. No more touches possible. Space Station, despite some troubles on mid-down, they're able to take the series 3-1 in their